your investments would only go, 3%. But if your rate of return is higher than that, and I think the common rate of return, depending on, of course, stock market and so on and so forth, is roughly between 15 and 20%. So that's way higher. And by the way, it's pretty clear. If you have something like a 401k, and you have that investment and everything, and you start getting your returns from that, you'll discover over 20, 30 years that your actual return per quarter is way more than what you could actually earn during that quarter, right? So, you know what I mean? Yes? No? Investing in stocks, if you have the chance, if you're looking at growing your capital, that's not perfect, but there you go. But how each society structures itself based on the ideology, right? The ideology of certain European countries is high tax. Everybody gets taxed like crazy. Canada is another example. I have a friend who was a teacher in the bush. She retired after a few more years teaching in Anchorage to finish her retirement. Then she moved to Canada to live with her aunt to help take care of her aunt. Her aunt eventually died. She inherited the house and had become a Canadian citizen. To her chagrin, discovered that Canada's rules and taxes and everything else were much, much higher. She basically can't afford anything, and even though she pays so much tax for her medical benefits, she can never get any medical care because that's a terrible system. That's her point of view. I can't speak for all Canadians, of course, but the British use a system, a national system of healthcare, but usually it's like Denmark is considered the happiest country. When you do these kind of questionnaires, how happy are you, etc., Denmark seems to always win. I think that's kind of amazing because I don't know, I've never been to Denmark. The closest I ever got to that area was Bremerhaven, where I picked up my car. But I didn't pick it up. It was delivered, so I picked it up. That can be picked up. The car. Can't pick them up, even though I love that one postcard. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it's on the Alcan Highway driving to Alaska, and obviously they had a flat tire, and so the guy is changing the tire, and his wife is holding the car up. I think it's hilarious. It's a great picture. Shoot, that was a squirrel. I got distracted. But so, depending on the ideology of the country, you can change the amount of wealth that's shared among the people. So if they tax highly and then share the wealth, you can end up with what appears to be a more equitable society. But now keep in mind that when you look at Finland or Sweden or Norway, you're looking at much smaller countries. Even then, I think Texas, there's relatively small countries. Plus, up until recently, everybody's Norwegian. Everyone's Swedish. They have had migrants, that have caused interesting differences and problems and dilemmas. Not just for them, but for the migrants, of course. But as you see that kind of thing happen, things change, of course. But so the ideology can be a very significant part of what enables a country to balance its wealth. Thomas Piketty. I didn't mention Ludwig Feuerbach. I really need to, because part of Marx's whole business is the atheism associated with that. Where did that come from? His family were Protestant after they converted from Judaism for the father's job. But in Berlin, he meets a slightly older Ludwig von Feuerbach, easy name to remember because fire means fire, and Bach is a little stream, so Stream on Fire. Pretty odd name. In any case, he writes a book called The Essence of Christianity, where he basically argues that Christianity, in elevating God and demeaning the human, literally has made us feel like we're the scum of the earth by comparison to the divine. And when you think about all the things that humans have accomplished, you realize that all the good things in life are man-made, not divine. And as a result, we ought to have a new religion of humanism, where what we celebrate is being human. And so his religion of humanism is something that Marx picks up. And if you remember my definition of religion, it's belief in a meta-narrative. And so in that sense, Marx and Marxism and communism certainly has a religion. It's a religion of the state. I should have mentioned with Mill that Mill also has a belief that the main classical religions were passé, evolution and things are just going to make them go away. But religion itself is absolutely essential to structuring a well-functioning society, because essentially what it does is it enables everyone to believe the same kind of values. Without the same kind of values, you don't have a community. So what you need is a religion, but for Mill, the best kind of religion would be the state religion. And so we should have things like holidays, well, holy days, but holidays where the state celebrates something that's significant for the state, like the 4th of July, Flag Day, things of that sort. We should have parades, encourage people to come out and celebrate our unity as a state, and celebrate certain icons that are religious icons, like the flag, the Constitution. Certain symbols of the country should be considered as holy, essentially, sacred. But one interesting thing about Mill's belief in a religion of the state is that he didn't think it should be mandatory. So you know, just because it's the 4th of July and you're off work doesn't mean you have to actually show up at the parade. You could go and do something else. That's okay. But a contemporary competitor that I didn't mention of Mill was the official inventor of sociology, and that's Auguste Comte. Oh, I didn't spell it right. Bless you. Auguste Comte. And he's the one that invents a form of religion, a state religion, that essentially Marx and Marxists will take over. And that is that religion is mandatory. It's a state religion, and you actually have to show up. You know, you're off work for the day, but you're going to be checked by your boss to make sure you actually show up at the parade and participate and so on. And notice that if you're in Russia today, and there's a state holiday, which are really, that's a whole other interesting thing, because of course since Putin has become powerful, he's noticed, kept the Orthodox religion, encouraged it back, and the Orthodox religion, Archbishop Kirill has actually supported him even in things like the war on Ukraine. It's just absolutely unbelievable, but nonetheless, there they are. And by the way, every Christmas and so on, Orthodox services, Putin attends and has a special little box where he and his family and associates attend. If he's not there at Kirill's service, he's at another church wherever he is. So he promotes the idea of the support of the Orthodox religion, and yet the state functions are all kind of mandatory. You have to show up, otherwise people suspect you of being guilty of not promoting the state. He's also the one who invented sociology as a science. And his theory of philosophy is positivism. So that's kind of interesting. I have to quit, so I need to give you your quiz question, which, did I not pull it up? Anybody know what the quiz question is?
It's what's the difference between socialism?
Yeah, thank you. What's the difference? And by the way, I reference in my responses to most people Thomas Piketty as my thoughts on who we should look at. So did everybody get that from? Okay. No? So what's the difference between socialism and communism? I think we move on to American pragmatism next, don't we? American pragmatism. I'm a promoter of American pragmatism, by the way. I think it's the best philosophy there is. Thank you for that. When we get back next week, have a safe week. By the way, have we beaten the record? Did the snowfall last night beat the record, or are we close? I think we were within like 4 inches.
4.5 inches off before we got snow again. Probably.
That's kind of exciting. Yeah. And by the way, I'm convinced we're going to have even more snow next year.
We're going this fast. A couple weeks ago, we weren't going to have any.
That was a hypothesis. I'm sure a lot of us were skeptical, whereas that little boy in the commercial is spectacle. Spectacle. Can't say skeptical. Well, I know we've had snow up until May, although usually it falls and then disappears. I was surprised. I had snow to walk in today to get in. Yeah, it didn't completely go away. Thank you. Was class okay today, Robin?
I enjoyed it. I enjoy talking about Marxism and all that.
Yeah.
Generally, I enjoy talking about economic theory.
I kind of have to go along with Slavoj, though.